What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another video, this time for loose graded Star Wars variants. We've got Spanish figures, Lili Ledy's, we got some bootlegs even that have been graded, and these are all UKG and AFA graded examples. Lots of really good deals out there, and some that I do question as to whether they were appropriately labeled, but we're going to dig into all that. As always, thank you to my Patreon supporters. My Patreon page is patreon.com/actionfiguregrader if you're interested in joining up and getting 24 hours early access to all my videos. Let's go ahead and dig right in. We're going to start with some first 12 figures. The first one is a 1977 R2-D2 AFA 80. And it sold for $227.50 plus $8 shipping on 29 bids. And I think it was appropriately graded. I don't know. I mean, the sticker on this R2 is pretty rough. You know, it's on the lower end of 80 grades. AFA tends to grade them a little bit harsher than CAS and UKG. And I would say that for an AFA graded example, this is at the very, very bottom of an AFA 80 in my opinion. But still a really nice figure. It was the Hong Kong. And brand new case style. You can see a little bit of yellowing to the sticker in addition to all the scuffs that I just showed you. But $227.50 took that home. You know, an AFA 85 is probably running $350 or $400, if not more, these days. So I think that price was more than fair. There was also an AFA 80 First 12 C3PO. That one looked pretty nice. Certainly every bit of an AFA 80 Hong Kong COO. That one sold for $102.50 plus $8 shipping. I thought that was a great deal. Really good buy for brand new case style AFA 83PO. Here was an AFA 85 Taiwan Princess Leia. Now, it did have the older case style, so there were no, like, pegs or dowels around the neck area, so the cape is starting to fall off a little bit, unfortunately, and you can see the weapon taped there to the inside instead of having that nice recessed case style, but it is an AFA 85. That one sold for $474.88. I mean, that just seems really high to me. But, we've documented a few here that have sold kind of in that price range. So, my guess is that at $474.88, that's probably towards the bottom end of the range for an AFA 85 First 12 Leia. I mean, they've gotten so expensive. It's unbelievable. And can easily command over $500 now for an AFA 85. I still think with a UKG 85, you can probably still pick it up in that $350 to $400 range. CAS probably about the same, but it just seems like those AFA 85s, they command a massive premium especially for a Princess Leia. Here was an UKG 85, gray hair, Hong Kong, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Really nice example. Now, there is a Hong Kong, and there's also a Made in Hong Kong. So there's two different kind of COO stamps you can get on the back of that. And what I like about UKG is that they label that. They actually tell you. So, for example, there's plenty of examples out there where UKG says Made in Hong Kong because that's what the stamp says. Whereas this one says GMFGI Hong Kong. So it's just kind of nice if you're like really into the variants and you're really into kind of making sure you have every possible factory and all that kind of thing. It's just nice that UKG does that. I wish AFA and CAS would follow suit on that. But really nice example, AFA 85. And that one sold for 112 pounds, 133 US dollars. That is a really good deal. I've got this exact figure, and I paid more than that just very recently for a gray hair Hong Kong Obi-Wan, same case style. So I thought that was a great pickup. Now, again, it was $61 shipping. So you keep that in mind. So, we're probably, let's call that about $195 or so after the global shipping program. And the seller I bought mine from did not have the global shipping program. So it probably about evened out. It's if you look at this one versus the one I bought, and that global shipping just really eats into you if you're in the U.S. Next up was a UKG 90% Hong Kong Vader, just a standard Hong Kong Vader, but very, very high grade. That one sold for 170 pounds, which is about 203 US dollars. I thought that was a fantastic deal to get a UKG 90. I mean, an AFA 85 will go for more than this. And I equate usually a UKG 90 or a CAS 90 to about an 85 or 85 plus AFA. So to get that for 203, again, you got to pay the global shipping program of $63, but that's still a really nice figure for that price. I got a couple of loose graded 12-inch figures that I wanted to show you guys. Both of them were at auction. This was an AFA 80 12-inch Luke Stormtrooper, obviously the very old case style from AFA. But that one sold for $512 plus $20 shipping. And then there was also the Leia, that was AFA 85, again, the older case style. That one sold for the same price, $512 plus $20 shipping. So pretty interesting to me that both of those ended up at almost the exact same price, actually to the penny, the exact same price. So I guess my guess is probably there was somebody else or somebody out there that wanted both of them, so they paid up for both. But really nice examples for those. You don't just see those loose graded 12-inch figures very often, especially at auction. And admittedly, older case style, you could probably add about 15 or 20% to that price if it had maybe a little bit more modern case style to it. But very, very nice looking figures. Next up was a UKG 85% Hong Kong red snaggletooth, brand new case style. That one sold for $98.90 British pounds which is about 118 US dollars plus shipping. Very nice example there. And then there was also an AFA 85 Hong Kong Boba Fett, just the standard dark green armor. There is also one that's labeled by AFA as the light green chest Boba Fett. That was a Hong Kong variant, but this is just the standard one, which they don't label as dark green chest. Now, that's something I do like about CAS. CAS will label dark green versus light green for the Hong Kong Boba Fett's, but AFA just labels it Boba Fett and then only denotes on the label when it's the light green chest version. But very nice example, AFA 85. That one sold for $337 on free shipping, and that's about the going rate right now. It just seems like somewhere between $300 and $350 is about the going rate for a standard Hong Kong Boba Fett. But just another data point. This is one I had in my What to Buy video, and one of my Patreon supporters, Matthew P., was able to pick this up. It was an AFA 80 Plus Death Star droid, $125 free shipping. He bid, and nobody else bid. And I thought that price was fantastic for brand new case style AFA 80 Plus, $125. I mean, that's a bargain, in my opinion. I'm really surprised that nobody else bid on that one, but congrats to Matthew on that one, and thank you for the channel support. Really appreciate you. Next up was a UKG 85% made in Hong Kong. Now, going back to the labels, this is what I'm talking about with UKG. They'll say made in Hong Kong, LFL, versus GMFGI, Hong Kong. And it just lets you know that, there's two different kinds sometimes for some of these figures. I know that for Dengar is another one where it's Hong Kong versus made in Hong Kong. Obviously, the Kenobi that we just talked about. I'm sure there's plenty of others, but those are the two that just came to the top of my head. But I just love that UKG does that. But anyway, this is a UKG 85%. Hong Kong, and that one sold for 121 pounds, which is about 144 US. Again, if you're buying it and you're in the US, the shipping was $61 and change. So hopefully somebody in the UK was able to get that and cut down the shipping costs. Now, we're going to dig into some Lili Ledys that UKG graded. And in my opinion, something's weird, okay? I think I'm almost 100% positive that this one especially is mislabeled. This is labeled the Lili Ledy Luke Bespin blonde hair. Okay, so there's two different Luke Bespins, right? I'm sure there's others, they're very specific kind of like changes and things like that, or variants. But the two major variants are the brown-haired Regresso Lili Ledy Luke Bespin. That has brown hair again, and it comes with a wide-handled Lili Ledy specific blaster, okay? That's not what this one is. This is labeled as a Lili Ledy blonde hair, and it's with the Smuggler blaster, which is correct. The Lili Ledy Returno variant had blonde hair, and it did come with a Lili Ledy specific Smuggler blaster, DL44 blaster. But typically, these figures go ungraded now. They can go for $500 to $600. Now, this one sold for 158 pounds, which is about 188 US dollars plus shipping, but still you're talking 240 bucks. That, to me, signifies that this figure is not a Lili Ledy. I'm sorry, but there's something going on with this sale, and I think the market valued this as just a standard no COO figure versus a Lili Ledy. Now, could I be wrong? Yes, but it's just really tough to tell based on these photos, and I didn't dig into it. I didn't go on, Variant Villain and double check it, but if I had to guess, this is just a standard no COO, and it is not either the correct blaster or it's just mislabeled by UKG. And that does happen, unfortunately. I mean, I've had it happen with CAS when I sent in a no COO Yoda. They labeled it as Lili Ledy, and I said, no, it's not a Lili Ledy. I wish it was, but it's not. It's just a no COO, Cater Factory or something like that came on the later Return of the Jedi cardbacks and the Power of the Force cardbacks, and they did correct it. But I've found that with UKG, you have to be very, very careful buying made in Mexico Lili Ledy figures. I've seen it happen too much. I can tell you that I've counted over a dozen where they've either had the incorrect accessories or it's been mislabeled, and I've had collectors that have bought UKG graded Lili Ledys, and they've sent them off to get recased by AFA, and AFA said, "I'm sorry, no, we can't grade this. It's got the incorrect accessories. They're not Lili Ledy accessories." And that's not just one time. I've had many collectors say that that's happened to them. So what I'm trying to say is that the market valued this as a no COO standard Luke Bespin versus a Returno Lili Ledy Luke Bespin, because a Lili Ledy Returno is extremely rare and very, very pricey, even ungraded. I mean, on Facebook alone, they can go for $500 to $600. So I'm just saying that either this was the deal of the century or this was mislabeled, and I tend to believe it's the latter. I think it was mislabeled. Next up was a Nikto, Lili Ledy Nikto. That was graded 80%. That sold for 68 pounds, which is about 81 bucks. Again, I don't know if it's got the correct accessory or not. It's just really tough to tell based on these limited photos. Usually, I think there's an L stamp on the correct Lili Ledy staff, but it looks like the Lili Ledy to me. The actual figure does, but that seems low to me. That again seems low. But again, you got to remember that if somebody in the U.S. bought it, they're paying 140 bucks, which is probably about right for an ungraded. You can pick up an ungraded Nikto Lili Ledy complete for about 100 to 150 bucks, somewhere in there. And so anyway, I'm not trying to bag on UKG. All right, I'm just saying that you need to be more careful with Lili Ledys. Now, I think UKG is the foremost expert on Spanish figures, because most of those Spanish figures are where they are. Most of the collectors that have a big bunch of Spanish figures that they send in to be graded, they usually send them to UKG. And so I consider UKG usually the expert on Spanish figures, although there is one at auction right now. There's one that's labeled a Spanish Pac Ugnaught that, in my opinion, is not a Spanish Pac Ugnaught, just based on all the research. I dove into it earlier today. So if you see a Spanish Pac, early Spanish Ugnaught for sale on eBay right now, it's a UKG 80%. That one is not, in my opinion, that one is not a Spanish figure. But anyway, back to the data here. I'm sorry to go off on a tangent. Here was a Lili Ledy C3PO solid limbs graded 80%. That one sold for 146 pounds, which is about 174 US dollars. Again, it looks like the correct Lili Ledy just based on the stuff on the back, but on the date stamps and so forth. But I didn't dig into all these in great detail. Now, this one for 100% is definitely a Lili Ledy. This is the dull gold version. It's a very common variant or not a common, but it's a well-known variant for C3PO from the Lili Ledy factory. That one was graded UKG 75%. That one sold for 230 pounds, or about 274 US dollars. That was a good buy, because this is absolutely a Lili Ledy figure. I can tell you that for a fact. Next up was another Lili Ledy. This is another one I know that's a Lili Ledy. This was an AFA 85. I had this one on my What to Buy video, and it was listed for 500 pounds, or about 600 US dollars, and a best offer was accepted. I forgot to look up the value on that one, but that one was one I had on my What to Buy, and it sold very quickly thereafter. It did have the older case style, but a really nice example, and absolutely the Regresso Lili Ledy for Yoda. Next up, we got a couple of Spanish figures. This was a PvP hard torso Stormtrooper. That one sold for 98 pounds. That was a great buy. Great buy on that one. 116 US dollars is what the currency conversion is on that one. But that was a really good buy. Very tough to find that one in high grade. And then there was also a Spanish Pac Hoth Stormtrooper. You can tell that it's the Spanish Pac. It's got that very kind of pinkish kind of limbs, discoloration to the limbs going on. Very common issue with the early Spanish Hoth Stormtroopers, but again, graded UKG 80%. That one sold for 113 pounds, which is about 135 US dollars plus shipping, so about $200 if you're getting it shipped to the US. Again, a very fair price. That was a very good deal in my mind. Next up was an AFA 85 Luke Battle Poncho, last 17 figure. Now, it had the new case style, but whoever graded it got the Clearview case label up top instead of the label on the interior. And that just shows you how much people don't like this, because it only sold for $286 plus $6 shipping. Now, if this one had the traditional grading label style where it's on the inside of the label instead of up top, I think you could probably get $350 or $400 for that figure all day long. But just most collectors do not like that clear view label. So if you're a reseller and you're sending in loose graded figures to AFA, my recommendation to you is, if you want to maximize your return on investment, get the classic view labels instead of the clear view labels up top like this one. They just are not in high demand with collectors. Next up, I've got to cover this one. This was an incredible item that Blacked Out Ewoks showed, along with a number of other items, UKG items I've already covered. But this was a Palatoy Tri-Logo, and this is like a indoor chase kind of multi-pack, and it included Leia Endor, a Biker Scout Wicket, and then the speeder bike, and it was open sealed contents Palatoy Indoor Chase Play Pack, graded UKG 85%. Now, these do not come up regularly for sale, and as Blacked Out Ewoks pointed out, usually it's open contents, and you're just buying, the set that's probably been kind of cobbled together after the fact. But to get a sealed contents on the inside open box for this, it is extremely rare. I mean, I don't even remember the last time I've seen a sealed contents version of this ever sell. And to get it UKG 85, qualified 85% grade, I mean, I knew it was going to go for an insane amount of money, and it did not disappoint. It sold for £24.58 pounds, which is almost $3,000 US. So that just shows you how rare that one is. But this is just one of the more interesting items that came out towards the end of the Kenner Star Wars, Palatoy Star Wars line. And that is just a beautiful, beautiful item that you just do not see come up at all. And just an incredible price, final sales price for that one. And then I've got a few bootlegs that also sold at auction. This was a UKG 90% AT-ST driver Polish bootleg. This is a third generation from 1994, as it's appropriately labeled, Generation 3. This is the most common Polish bootleg that's out there. You can get these. I bought 6 of these for $80 one time. So they were just produced in massive numbers. But this is a really cool one, though, because it does have gold shoulder paint, which most of them do not have that. If memory serves, they do not have that gold shoulder paint. They're usually just gray. But anyway, that one sold for 128 pounds, which is about $153 US plus shipping. But you can find this one really easily yourself, and for probably $25 to $50, and then get it graded yourself if you wanted to. They are very easy to find in high grade. And I didn't look at mine. I've got like 4 or 5 of them, but I didn't look at mine to see if mine have the gold paint on mine or not. But that's a really nice figure. I'm not trying to disparage it. I'm just saying it's very, very common Polish bootleg. It's easily the most commonly produced from the third generation. This one surprised me. I was surprised it didn't go higher than this. It was a UKG 85% third generation Imperial Gunner. Really nice example though, Death Star Gunner. And that one sold for 172 pounds, which is about $205 US. That's probably about right, I guess. I don't know. Usually ungraded they can go for that, so I think that was a really good buy. And another very common, easy to find third generation Polish bootleg. And then we're going to finish the video off with a CAS 95 Plus Russian bootleg Boss based on the Power of the Force 2 mold. This is one I mentioned in my What to Buy video that, hey, if you can pick it up for, $165, which was the starting bid price, to around $200, I think that's a good buy. 95 Plus is tough to find on anything, much less a Russian bootleg. But really nice example. That one sold for $217.50 plus $16 shipping. Now, you can buy this ungraded for like $20 to $30, but to get a 95 plus grade, that's tough to do. I mean, I sent mine in and I thought mine was perfect. I mean, you couldn't even move the arms on mine. It was complete overstock, and mine still only got a 90. So to get a 95 plus, that's quite an accomplishment on a pretty awesome looking bootleg. So anyway, just some more data for those of you looking for loose graded figures, loose graded variants. We had Mexican figures, questionable some of them, some Spanish figures, some first 12 figures, and then some bootlegs. Pretty nice assortment. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, please leave a like and comment below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.